Sir, I plan on paying you back for the damages.
How you gonna do that? You don't even have a job.
Well, yes, I do. I'm a farmer.
Don't be calling yourself a farmer.
What is going on, guys? Recon Jack here, happily bringing you Red Season 3 Week 1 team build. Steel City Snorlax versus the Young Rich Digletts, bleh, coached by Mateus. He has a team of Mega Steelix, Latias, Florges, Volcanion, Hippowdon, Cloyster, Tornadus Incarnate, Uxie, Rotom Cut, Hitmonchan, and Stoutland. I'm going to start it off with my first Mon that I decided to build with, and that is going to be the Electivire. He is rocking the Assault Vest with the ability Motor Drive, packing the Volt Switch, Iron Tail, Wild Charge, and Ice Punch with 252 EVs in both attack and speed, with a Jolly Nature and the remaining 4 EVs dumped in a Special Defense. Basically, what this set is supposed to do is Volt Switch on any Mon on Mateus' team, barring Hippowdon, get me that initiative, and even with the negative special attack nature, Volt Switch Okos and uninvested Volcanion, Cloyster, and I believe Torn. So that is a huge plus. The Iron Tail obviously is for Florges. Wild Charge can also hit it pretty hard. Wild Charge can also, it hits most of his team fairly hard, barring like a Rotom Cut and the Latias, which I have an Ice Punch for. So basically this Mon has at least perfect neutral coverage against all of his team. Obviously Ice Punch won't be doing much against Hippowdon. This set really doesn't deal with Hippowdon too well, which is why it's one of the biggest threats on Mateus' team. It puts a stop to Electivire pretty hard. It's a pretty hard check. So I'm going to have to be careful with the Volt Switch, but once Hippowdon is gone, I can freely Volt Switch on the remainder of his team. Wait, that's not true. He has a Mega Steelix. Not too concerned about that one though, but I cannot Volt Switch if that cannot Volt Switch freely if that Mon decides to come. But this set does deal with the rest of his team pretty well. I originally had this on an air balloon, and I had Magnet Rise on it, and Taunt as well for Hippowdon against a lead Hippowdon, but then I figured that the coverage that this Mon provided for me against his team was just too good to pass up. Instead of being kind of a situational Mon, I decided to go with a more offensive variant. That's my playstyle anyway. That's how I'm comfortable playing. So I have big hopes for this Electivire set. We're going to move on next to my Blastoise, Make It Rain, Rockin' the Scald, Ice Beam, Aura Sphere, and Rapid Spin. He's got 244 EVs in HP, 252 in special attack, and 12 in speed with a modest nature. This isn't necessarily outspeed. It's not meant to outspeed anything on his team per se, but anything that's trying to speed creep my Blastoise will hopefully I've put enough EVs into speed to outspeed whatever's speed creeping, as well as giving myself an odd number in HP so that I can come in on rocks for one more turn. I think that's how that works. Yes. I decided to go for Rapid Spin over Dark Pulse. Dark Pulse would have been nice for the Uxie because the Uxie is, although it's not a huge problem for my team, I don't really have much to hit it with. for super effective damage. And that is a bulky mon, which can do a lot. It can Thunder Wave, it can set up rocks, it can yawn, it can do a lot of things. And I don't want it to be staying on the field for too long. But I really needed Rapid Spin because his team, if it can Hazard Stack against my team, has a much better chance to beat my lineup. So if he decides to bring Spikes, Toxic Spikes, Cloyster with Stealth Rock, Uxie, or Hippowdon, and decides to Hazard Stack me, if I don't have that Rapid Spin, or I don't bring Defog, then my chances of winning are just that much lower. So I really unfortunately I had to bring Rapid Spin. I figured I'd be able to take Uxie out without the Dark Pulse. I needed Aura Sphere to check Cloyster completely, and that's pretty much the only reason why I'm rocking Aura Sphere over Dark Pulse. Scald, obviously that's stab, it hits pretty much everything except for the Volcanion with Water Absorb, and obviously it's not super effective against Rotom, Cut, or Latias, but I have Ice Beam for those mons. So this Blastoise is, as I said, my hard check to Cloyster. If I see Cloyster come out, I am immediately bringing in Blastoise, and it deals with most of his team pretty well. It's bulky, but I need to be careful with it. Although I would love to switch this mon in on any incoming attacks. Again, if he does have that Cloyster, I need to wait for an opportune moment to bring it in, because I want it at as high health as possible, because Cloyster is a threat. Make no mistake. You'll see. Oh, you can see already in my team build that Cloyster can be a problem. Anyway, moving on to the worst evolution. I hate this Pokemon, but I had to draft it. I hate playing against it. I don't really like playing with it, but I will because it is good. It's Umbreon, shiny obviously, holding the leftovers with Synchronize. It's got Foul Play, Heal Bell, Wish, and Protect with 252 points in HP, 164 points in Special Defense, and 92 in Speed with a Calm Nature. I'll go over the EVs real quick. This set is just as bulky as I can make it on the specially defensive side, while outspeeding a speed creeping Florges. So an uninvested Florges with like 4 points in speed, my Umbreon will still be able to outspeed, and if necessary get off a Wish, die to Moonblast, and then I can bring in a Mon that will get the Wish on the following turn. I'm rocking the Protect here over Baton Pass. I was playing around with this set a lot. Baton Pass would have been nice to get a slow switch into something like my Infernape or something like my Mamoswine, but I decided that the Protect lets Umbreon have much better longevity during the match, and this is a really invaluable mon, like core part of my team. So I need to have this thing sticking around for as long as possible. Foul Play has obviously something to hit the Uxie with. Heal Bell is huge. That's something I didn't really have on my team last season. I mean, I did have Aromatisse, but that didn't come to it came to one match. Heal Bell is huge. If Uxie is paralyzing things, Rotom C is trying to Will-O-Wisps my Electivire or my Mamoswine. This is my way to deal with that. So this Umbreon, as much as I hate it, I kind of have to rely on it. That's all I have to say about that mon. Really, it's pretty one-dimensional, and I hate it. Next up is Masquerade, my Roserade, holding that Life Orb with Natural Cure. rocking Substitute, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, and Sleep Powder with 252 points in both special attack and speed with a timid nature. This Mon puts in the utmost work versus Mateus' team. I play tested over and over again. Yes, he has a Volcanion. Yes, he has a Cloyster. Yes, he has a Tornadus Incarnate. Yes, he has a Uxie. It does not matter. This Mon consistently is able to put in work against his team. Once I get a sub up, I'm either putting something to sleep or I'm hitting something hard with either Giga Drain or Sludge Bomb. Giga Drain allows me to gain health back so I can continue to attack more and more even with that Life Orb recoil. Sludge Bomb just hits almost everything on his team extremely hard. This Mon is has such good offensive presence in this match, and I'm really relying on Roserade to carry its weight, getting at least 2 kills, I want to say, at the minimum for this match. Next up is my Infernape, rocking the Choice Scarf with Iron Fist. He has U-Turn, Flare Blitz, Close Combat, and Mach Punch with 252 points in attack, 252 points in speed with a jolly nature. Now, you might ask yourself, why didn't I just speed creep his fastest Mon with a choice, because I have a Choice Scarf, and then dump the rest of those EVs into something like HP or defense or special defense? Well, it's pretty simple. If something is if he knows that I'm going to just speed creep his fastest Mon, if he has a Choice Scarf user, he could speed creep something trying to speed creep his fastest Mon. So I just made this thing as fast as possible. I was kind of debating on a lot of different Infernape sets. As you guys know, this is a very versatile Mon that can do quite a few things. I was considering making this my rocker. I was considering making this a special attacker. I was considering making this a mixed attacker with something like Grass Knot for the Hippowdon. What I realized during playtesting is Hitmonchan is actually a really big threat to my team, especially Choice Scarf Hitmonchan, or a Life Orb Hitmonchan. Mostly Choice Scarf is the biggest issue. If it has a priority move like Mach Punch, I want to be able to ensure that I'm faster than it and that I can Mach Punch it before it Mach Punches me. So Mach Punch actually took the place of Grass Knot. U-Turn, obviously that's going to give me that switch initiative. It's going to hit Latias for lots of damage. It's going to hit Uxie for lots of damage. It's going to hit Rotom Cut for a pretty good amount of damage. Flare Blitz, obviously that's going to hit pretty much everything on his team hard. Nothing wants to really take a Flare Blitz except Volcanion, which I have close combat for. Infernape just puts in a lot of work. I'm not sure how much it'll see the battlefield because it is pretty frail on the defensive side, so the only time I'll be bringing this Mon in is after something dies. I really don't want to be switching into my Infernape. Unfortunately, when you have something that's so fast and hits so hard, you kind of got to sacrifice the defenses. So that's about that. We'll move on to my last Mon, which is Mamoswine, which also has a Life Orb, and its ability is Stick Fat. It's got Stealth Rocks, Ice Shard, Earthquake, and Knockoff. Now, Mamoswine puts in probably the most work against Mateus' team. This Pokemon causes him so many issues. I really wanted to put Icicle Crash on here, but I figured if I had the chance, I'd get out my Stealth Rocks. I don't really need Icicle Crash. Ice Shard does just fine. The coverage on Mamoswine against his team is incredible. Stoutland can hit with a huge Earthquake. Hitmonchan I can hit with a huge Earthquake. Rotom C, Ice Shard, Uxie, Knockoff, Torn. Ice Shard. Cloyster. Well, Cloyster is kind of an issue for this mon. Hippowdon, I can at least knock off its leftovers. Volcanion, I'm EQing the shit out of that. Florges, EQing the shit out of that. Latias, Ice Sharding the shit out of that. Mega Steelix, Earthquaking the shit out of that. Mamoswine does so much damage to a max HP, max defense Florges. Earthquake still does at a minimum, like, I think it's over 60%, which is huge because Florges can be an issue for my team, especially if it's a Calm Mind variant and it gets a couple boosts up. So I really hope that Mamoswine can put in the finest of work against the young rich Digletts. Now that we're done with this, I'm going to move on to the battle. I will see you guys there. Alright guys, it's time to battle Mateus. We're seeing his lineup for the first time. It is Volcanion, Florges, Latias, Uxie, Rotomcut, and Hitmonchan. No Hippowdon, which is excellent. That means I can freely Volt Switch on everything. That is huge news for me. As soon as I saw that, I was like, Mateus fucked up. I do see the Hitmonchan and Volcanion, however, both of which I was expecting. So that's kind of an issue. I need to figure out what kind of sets those are, what he's running with those. I do see the Uxie, the Florges. I kind of really wasn't expecting some of these mons to be brought together, but that is okay. What I can see him leading off with here is either like a Choice Scarf Rotomcut or his Uxie or even his Latias. So we're going to hop into this right now, and I'm going to lead off with my Choice Scarf Infernape, and he's going to lead off with his Rotom. I'm going to U-turn as he switches out into Latias, and I do over 50% health, which is amazing. Turn 1, I'm going to go out into Mamoswine, force him out into Uxie, and I'm going to knock off here. I do, again, over, I think this time it was 60% damage. I figured I might as well just go for the knockoff again. Either I knock him out or I knock something off, like hoping like a Choice Scarf from Hitmonchan or like an Assault Vest from Volcanion. He decides to stay in and let his Uxie go down, which is perfectly fine by me. I don't have to deal with yellow magic from that thing. I'm going to switch out Mamoswine against his Volcanion here because I don't know if his Volcanion is Choice Scarfed. If it is, I don't want my Mamoswine dropping to a Scald this early on in the match. So I bring out my Blastoise, which only semi-checks Volcanion. If it's Specs, even if it's not Specs, Volcanion still hits my Blastoise pretty damn hard with a Stab Water attack. So he actually decides to pull a double into his Florges, and I decide to Scald it just to scout to see what it wants to do. I was hoping for the burn, didn't get the burn, and he sets up a Calm Mind. I really wasn't expecting this set. I did think about it a little bit during my team build, but decided that this was a very unlikely set for him to bring, and of course he brings it. My Blastoise cannot touch this Florges, so I know that I have to switch out before things get too out of hand here. I figured he'd go for the attack, but he actually just goes for the Wish, which is huge because I get my Electivire in for free. So I can get an Iron Tail off as he goes for the Calm Mind. I don't know why he did that, to be honest. I really feel like he should have gone for the Moon Blast. He does get his Wish back, so he's back at almost full health. He's sitting around 80, but I did get the defense drop. I figured he'd switch out here, but I can't make any hard reads right now because his if I do try to make a read and he stays in, his floor just is a huge problem for my team after getting these couple boosts. Even though I do have Infernape in the back with a Choice Scarf, if he decides to stay in with this defense drop, I can drop this thing with a Flare Blitz. But fortunately, it doesn't have to get to that because he decides to stay in. I don't think he knows the defense drop, and he drops to a critical hit. Iron Tail. I looked at the calcs after the match. The Iron Tail critting did not matter. I would have killed it unless I got an absolute minimum roll. So the crit really didn't matter, although it is kind of unfortunate for Mateus. He decides to bring in his Latias, and I know that I can take at least one Draco because I am Assault Vest. This is why I made it Assault Vest, so that I could take a Draco from his Latias. He Dracos me expecting it to kill, and I Ice Punch, and I pick up the kill instead. He brings in his Rotom Cut. I don't know why I stayed in here. I thought I'd be able to live the Leaf Storm. Don't really have a good reason for this. I should have just brought in my Umbreon, which is my special defensive wall here. But I really wanted to get an Ice Punch off. So I do go for the Ice Punch, and he thought I'd switch out, so he goes for the Volt Switch. Here, this is where I got greedy. I'm going to Ice Punch him again as he Leaf Storms into me. I activated Citrus Berry. He gets a little bit of health back. That's not really a big issue for me. I bring in my Roserade here because I know that I can take advantage of the matchup and get a sub up. So while he switches out into Volcanion, I do go for the sub, and now I can go for the Sleep Powder. Fortunately, it hits, and now I'm just gonna start Giga Draining this Volcanion. Get it down to about, I want to say, okay, a little less than 20%, and he wakes up and hits his Fire Blast. If Showdown wants to stop glitching out on me, he will hit his Fire Blast here. There we go. And then he decides to switch out, predicting my Sleep Powder, which is not a big deal because he goes out into his Rotom Cut. Again, this is a favorable matchup for me, so I can just go straight for the substitute here, and he goes for the Will-O-Wisp. I'm not really sure why he did that. I don't know what his set was. I know he had Volt Switch, I know he had Leaf Storm. Now I know he has Will-O-Wisp. I figured he'd have like an HP Ice for my Latios, or like a HP Fire or something. I don't, for this matchup in particular, I'm not really sure, but I got my sub off. And now I'm just going to go for the Sludge Bomb. Pick up a second kill. Oh, sorry, that's the first kill with Roserade. He brings out his Hitmonchan, which is kind of still a threat to my team. I know I've pretty much won this game at this point, but this Pokemon can still kill a couple of my mons before I win. I do miss my first Sleep Powder, and he is able to get rid of my substitute. What I do see here, though, is that he is Life Orbed and not Choice Scarfed, which means I am faster. Here, I decide to play a little risky, and I go for a second Sleep Powder instead of switching out into something like my Blastoise. Fortunately, I do land my second Sleep Powder here, and instead of subbing up, which would be the safe play, I just start going for the Sludge Bombs, trying to get that kill. I'm kind of playing with fire there, but I do end up killing the Hitmonchan, and now it's just one Giga Drain away from the win. So Roserade does win this match for me with a nice little mini sweep at the end, killing 3 of Mateus's Mons. Infernape didn't really do as much as I wanted it to. It saw action on me the very first turn, and that's it. Mimoswine also didn't do as much as I wanted it to, but just being there, just Mateus seeing that I have Mamoswine, knowing in the back of his mind that Mammoth can come out and hit him with a huge Earthquake or a huge Ice-type move. I know that that was beneficial for me to have, just even in that little team preview box right there. I feel like I really played this match well. I made a lot of... I don't think I made that many errors at all, actually. I made a lot of the right plays at the right time. It was pretty cut and dry for me. I did prep a lot for this match, and I think after talking to Mateus, he said he didn't really have time to prep real hard for this, so he wasn't really coming in warmed up. He kind of just put together a team and said fuck it. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it was still a good match, even though it was a bit one-sided. I really enjoyed it. Mateus, best of luck in your future matches. I hope everybody else had a good week 1, win or lose. Excited to be getting back into the Red League. The off season felt a little rush until the very end when Britt snatched away the win for me in the finals, but that's okay. We're coming back with a 1-0 record at the end of week 1, and I will see you guys next week. For now, this is Recon Jack signing off.